Reverbs must be the #1 reasons why many beginners fail with their mixes. And that's alone a very good reason to really try to improve your reverbs. But don't worry, today I will show you 3 reverb tricks that will transform your mixes. And stay until number 3 because the third one is the really cool one. Number 1, reverb layering. This is a song that I'm working with Andre and Sarah, and it sounds like this.
Hold your breath, 'cause we're going down, and step by step we're falling under.
Amazing vocals, isn't it? Sarah is usual deliveries, so we need to polish it, and the #1 thing that you do, create a good ambience. So most of the time, what beginners will do, they will take a reverb, something like this,
Breath, 'cause we're going down, and step by step.
and call it a day. That is not really good enough for a pro vocal sound. You have to be a bit careful about creating depth with your reverbs. So what I tend to do, I need most of the times minimum 2 spaces. The one space would create this room feel, like we are sitting inside a room. The other one will be my color. It could be a big hole, it could be a ambience, it could be a shimmer, it could be anything. But one for creating the warmth, and the second one coloring the reverb. So let's start with the room. I'm gonna use Pro R for this one because it's very visual, easy to explain. You can use anything. I need kind of a small room, so I'm gonna go small, rich space, and we're gonna pull the mix 100% so we can hear what the reverb is doing.
Hold your breath, 'cause we're going down, and step.
I'm gonna make it a bit bigger.
Hold your breath, 'cause we're going down, and step.
And I definitely want that room feeling, and I want it darker so that I can use a color reverb on top of this later on. So I left myself a little bit space on that higher end. Right? This like darker.
Hold your breath, 'cause we're going down, and step.
Bring closer.
We're falling under. Hold your breath, 'cause we're going down, and
This is nice. So what happens now, because I'm considering layering different reverbs, I'm gonna create a parallel chain. This is the simplest one for Ableton, but in your DAW it will be slightly different workflow. I'm gonna call this one room. The other one is the dry. Now I can just mix these two together.
hold your breath, 'cause we're going down, and step by step we're
This subtle
falling
room,
under.
super nice. That brings me to the color. I'm sure everybody has their own favorite reverb plugins. Vintage Reverb is one of the popular ones, so let's go for that one. Put it into the chain, call it color. Again, 100% wet. I'm gonna go for my vocal presets and maybe pick something like air hole. Let's solo this so we can hear it.
Hold your breath, 'cause we're going down, and
Make it a bit airy.
step by step we're falling under. Hold your
To be honest, this is just perfect from get-go. If you want to make it maybe a bit bigger,
breath, 'cause we're going down, and step by step we're
open maybe a bit more.
falling under. Hold your breath.
Let me solo with the room so you can hear how much these two can complement each other, how different these reverb sound. Room,
Hold your breath, 'cause we're going down. Hold your breath.
you see? The room is like here, contained. This one is open and airy.
Hold your
Now mix all together.
Hold your breath, 'cause we're going down, and step by step we're falling under.
Really cool, isn't it? You
Hold
done?
your breath, 'cause we're going down, and
Together?
step by step we're falling under.
You can exaggerate this if you want, like for example, layer a shimmer reverb on top. It will make it more airy, but for my purposes, I think this really fits right into the track.
Down, and step by step we're falling under.
Enjoying the video up to now? Consider like and subscribe. It really helps a ton. This brings us to number 2, sidechain of the reverb. The one problem that we have over here is the reverbs are always playing non-stop. There's one easy trick that solves this issue. Just getting a compressor and putting into your wet chest. You sidechain it to the original signal, the dry vocal. So while vocal plays, the reverb is quieter. When the vocal is getting out, the vocal is louder. I exaggerate. You don't hear any reverb. Maybe you just... This is simplest sidechain. Nowadays, I use tools like Soothe, which basically helps you to cut only the frequencies that vocal occupies, which will make the sound of the reverb more present. So let's bring the Soothe. The same procedure, sidechain from the original vocal. Without. See, almost almost like vocal disappears and the reverbs left out. So this is really clean way of sidechaining the vocal without losing the room effect of the original sound. We don't need to do this aggressively, but I still want actually a bit of reverb feeling while the vocal is going on. So I'm going to duplicate the same thing here to the room as well. It is not a super drastic change, but it really clears up the mud.
Hold your breath, 'cause we're going down and
Now vocals really come through, like it's more aggressive almost. Without.
hold your breath, 'cause we're going down and hold your breath, 'cause we're going down and step by step we're falling on.
Super cool, isn't it? If you are tired of me showing you music production and want to come and dance with me, here are my tour dates. I will be around in Europe. If you are in Europe, come join me. Let's dance together. Finally, cool trick. This one is slightly more advanced, so it may get a bit confusing, but I will try to make it as clear as possible. So the way you use the throws is that you use the reverb as an emphasize tool, like an underline text in a sentence. In melodies, that means that you want to underline a phrase or a short piece of the melody so that you can grab the attention of the listeners. I'm going to use a lead sound, but you can do this with the vocals or even bass sounds or drums as well. Listen here. We hear that, this part. It's already kind of in the front, but I want it to be more like different, more like right? And throws are very good for that. What I'm going to do, let's grab a vintage reverb. Let's go for returns fat modern. Very good, right? I'm going to open up those highs a bit more. So I want this like super high shimmer like sound. This will do. Now group them up because throw means that reverb will be non-existent until we want to underline and emphasize a part or piece of a melody. Create a chain. I'm just gonna EQ the sound so that the lows are not blending too much in. You can do it before and after. I'm just gonna do after because I'm lazy. You can also do before and after. You see this like very bright reverb sound. Now the trick over here is actually controlling the volume. I like to do it after the reverb. That means that I still have a little bit like artifacts from the melodies previously. So it kind of makes a bit more glued. And then you just automate on the parts that you want to throw here, right? Do you see what happened again? Right? Maybe it's too loud. Let's bring this down a bit. Super good. Now there is one secret trick to make it work more smoothly. You can either extend the tail so that it disappears slowly, the tail part. I don't like this because it makes the sound a bit more muddier. But I like to do sometimes keep this short, but add a delay after the reverb chain. We don't need to automate this one because it will only adding the echo effect when there is a sound. And this is only happening when we open up the utility, right? So I'm going to put a mid side so it can just right, left, linger around a bit. Here, I will probably use something like notes 1/8. You hear that? So I'm using quite wet, but you can really experiment depending on how much lingering that you want. It's so good, isn't it? And that's it. You can actually use maybe distortion if you want to make it exaggerate a bit more. You can even use like effects like chorus if you want to open up the sound. But for me, this just already super good. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. And if you A-B, you can actually hear how much difference it makes without. Together. It just sits. It's just right. Isn't this just amazing? So throws are very important for emphasizing things in your track, making some things more important than others. These are not only 3 things that you can do with the reverb. If you combine reverb with some other effects, you can really create depth on your mix. If you wonder how, here I explain how it is done.